Merrill Memo with Matthew Dickerson from Dubbo Regional Council.
8:17 on the show for a Monday morning, 12th day of August, and the Minister for Housing of the State Government, the Honourable Rose Jackson, MLC, has announced the nation's first 3D printed home for social housing will be built right here in Dubbo. This is one step the state government is taking to address the housing shortage, and the nation's first 3D printed social housing project is just a month away from construction in Dubbo, reports 7 News just last week. To tell us a little bit more about what he knows, Dubbo Region Mayor Matt Dickerson, good morning.
Oh, good morning, Brett. And certainly what I do know is that a DA was submitted about a month or so ago, and that DA was for a home at 51 Ronald Street in Dubbo. And when you look at the details of that DA, that shows that is a 3D printed home. So that DA has been going through the system, and anyone that wants to look up that, it's on the planning portal. All the DAs that are submitted now go through on the planning portal. It's a public site that you can go and look at. You can go and look at the details of that. It looks like quite a comprehensive, it's a dual occupancy, but it's quite a comprehensive home there, quite impressive looking. But there's no doubt about it, Brett, that councillors of Dubbo Regional Council should be very proud of the fact that they've helped state government create policy and making a difference to the housing crisis we've got across the nation, because this all goes back to May 2022 when the first resolution was made by council. It was a notice of motion brought forward by Councillor Matt Wright to set aside 4 residential blocks for 3D printed housing. So that was the first step. Council unanimously voted in favour of that, and we had, after that one, 3 other different resolutions of council that were made by council, all unanimous by council, to support 3D printed homes, and that involved the 3D printed toilet block as well. On the back of all of that, the state government has said this is a valid solution to try and help solve our housing crisis across the state. So it's certainly very progressive of Dubbo and very progressive of the state government.
Yeah, Housing Minister Rose Jackson telling 7 News that we want to pull every lever to confront the housing crisis. We want to try everything. I mean, Matt, you've had a little bit of criticism over this toilet block over in West Dubbo, but it seems that the project manager has come up with a solution to fix that, or was it always something that was fixable with those cracks in the 3D printed toilet block?
I think anyone sensible, Brett, knows that you lay a slab of concrete and you'll get some micro cracks in that. Concrete does sometimes get micro cracks. Is that a structural problem? No, of course not. Did we know that something like that might happen? Possibly, because you do have a large chunk of concrete there. And we specifically talked to the builder of that toilet block and said, don't paint it. Let's see how it performs in the extremes of cold and hot that we've got in Dubbo. And then at some point in the future, we can put a coat of paint on that, and you won't see those cracks. If we painted it from the beginning, Brett, you wouldn't have seen those micro cracks at all. Is the toilet block still standing? Do we expect it to collapse into a pile of rubble sometime in the near future? Of course not. And again, some micro cracks. You lay a concrete path, you put concrete down for a garden shed or a garage. Anyone that's got a slab of concrete realises there's probably going to be some micro cracks in there, but it's not about to collapse. So I think, again, it was convenient for some people to criticise that because it was a bit different, or maybe they were criticising it because they had a political agenda. The reality is that this council made a decision that was progressive, that was forward-looking, and the state government has acknowledged that and has gone ahead to say, let's build more of these across the state.
This first 3D printed social housing project in the country, as you mentioned, will be two-bedroom duplexes. My understanding here is it's set to look like providing a place to call home for Aboriginal housing office tenants, and with an estimated project cost of $526,000, the builders will use that technology to lay sustainable materials one loop at a time. So really, this is the pilot project almost.
Exactly right. So the state government has looked at what we've done with the 3D printed toilet. I've certainly had discussions with the builders, the original builders. The same company that did the 3D printed toilet block will be doing this particular housing for social housing. And the builders that are running this project have been looking at Dubbo and talking to us about the project for many months now. There's no doubt about it. The leadership that we showed, the leadership that councillors showed in this particular concept has led to this outcome. And again, we met with Homes New South Wales, which is the government department that Rose Jackson's the minister for. We met with them last week, and they talked about two examples across the state where they're seeing councils do something progressive, showing leadership to try and help solve our housing crisis. One was Dubbo with 3D printed homes, and the other one was Lake Macquarie, and they've been doing some work over at Lake Macquarie Council with prefab, so that you can actually have a prefab home built again to get homes built quicker. But of all the councils across the state, of 128 councils, Homes New South Wales pulled out in a public forum those two particular councils as leading the way in trying to solve the housing crisis across the state.
Matt, in his report last week from 7 News, Hamish Southwell was reporting this unique method in 3D printing will, cut construction time to about 50%. So it'll take around 40 weeks to complete this project. Is that correct?
I don't know the exact time frame, sorry, Brett, on how long that will take for that project, but there's no doubt about it that Hamish is right. The construction time frame is certainly less, so you can build homes quicker with 3D printed homes, you can do them cheaper, but more importantly, from a social housing perspective, the maintenance seems to be a big issue for them as well. In other words, when you've got social housing, sometimes the ongoing maintenance costs are quite high. When you've got a double concrete wall, so you've got an outside skin and an inside skin, the same as a 3D toilet you can go and look at now, then that's your construction. In other words, you've got a very solid base for your construction. Sometimes you'll get gyprock on an inside wall, hollow walls, you can get that damaged. And so sometimes the ongoing maintenance costs can be quite high. When you've got double concrete walls, that means you're going to reduce your maintenance costs, which again is a cost to the state government. So that's an advantage. The other thing you've got is very good insulation. So when you've got social housing tenants in there trying to make sure they spend as little money as possible, cooling and heating a home can be expensive, but when you've got that double concrete wall and then you've got a cavity there which you can fill with insulation, that makes the actual insulation of that much better, which means you're spending less money on heating or cooling the house.
Matt, I've got to apologise to Hamish because I've just reread this. I misread it originally to you. Hamish says the method which aims to cut construction time by about 50% compared to the traditional build, which takes around 40 weeks to complete. The 3D printer project to transform the vacant block of land into a brand new home in just 16 weeks is what he's saying. So that is a relatively short period of time to get some social housing up and running.
Well, I'm not a building expert, Brett, so I can't tell you exactly what it would normally take for a house to be built. Again, I'm putting faith in Hamish there in terms of the information he's given, but there's no doubt about it.
I'm sure he's correct.
I'm sure he's correct. And when you do talk to builders, they do talk about the fact that this is very quick. We saw it with the toilet block, Brett. They set up their gantry, and a few days later, then you've got this outside wall. Now, you still need to do the fit out. You still need to put in the toilet block. You still need to put the actual toilets in, the internal fit out. In a house, there'll still be the work to do with the internal fit out. It's really just the external walls and the internal walls that you're replacing with the 3D printing concept, which saves time. The other thing I have heard is some people are concerned about jobs. Does this replace jobs? Yes, it does, but at the moment, it's very difficult to find a bricklayer. So trying to get bricklayers to solve the housing crisis we have across the state is very difficult. We just don't have enough of them, Brett. So this here, yes, it does replace bricklayers in terms of the printing there, but we don't have a plethora of those bricklayers out there at the moment. So it's not doing people out of jobs. It's really just trying to help solve the housing crisis. Then you still need builders to do all the internal fit out that you normally have. You still need electricians. You still need plumbers. So you still need trades to do the rest of the jobs. It's really just that frame and the walls that you're replacing with the 3D printing concept.
Matt, do you think Councillor Matt Wright or any of the councillors, when they unanimously voted on the original notice of motion submitted by Matt Wright, that they thought this would actually come along to housing 3D printed, or did you all just think this was just going to be toilet blocks?
Well, no, the initial motion was about housing.
Was
the original motion on the 26th of May 2022 was about setting aside 4 residential blocks in a future estate of council. So we always had in mind with housing. We didn't know how many, and we thought it'd be interesting to see if this could be a potential solution. The toilet block came after that in terms of we knew we needed to replace that toilet block, so we voted to go out to a tender for 3D printing and then had to award the tender. We also had a resolution come to council from our building services team leader about how to actually process a DA for a 3D printed project. So in total, Brett, we've had the concept of 3D printing come to council 4 times so far. it's been unanimously voted in favour of 4 times by all of our councillors. So all of our councillors have been absolutely in favour of the 3D printing concept. I don't think any of us thought that we would actually change state government policy and have the state government jump on board so quickly. It's pretty impressive when it's only 2 years ago that the first resolution was brought to council by Matt Wright, and here we are 2 years later. We've now got social housing being built by the state government in this same concept. So that's pretty impressive that this council's really changed the direction, changed policy direction of the state government, and well done to the state government who have recognised that there's a whole range, as Dros Jackson said, a whole range of different levers that need to be pulled, and they're keen to pull those levers to solve this housing crisis.
I guess we've just got to see this successfully 3D printed, the social housing project, and I guess it could be then rolled out across the state. So that is good news. Thanks for your time this morning. Dubbo Region Mayor Matt Dickinson. Enjoy your week.
Thank you very much, Brett.
Mayoral Memo with Matthew Dickinson from Dubbo Regional Council.